Hey everyone, welcome to Jonathan's Leftovers. This is a segment, bonus content, if you will, that me and Jason have put together where it's something in the main conversation for the week that we couldn't get to. And so we want to give you an extra helping that gives you some practical wisdom on how to deal with the topic that we were dealing with this week. This week's topic from the main episode was talking about being intentional in communicating with our children, whether it's criticism or compliments. And so Jason, I know there was a couple things that we wanted to jump onto here in the Jonathan Leftovers segment to give the guys and the gals out there that are listening. And I'll kick it off. Like one of the things that we didn't get to talk about on Tuesday's main episode, which I encourage everyone go back, download, listen to. But it was covering our children in prayer. And one of the most powerful examples of why that's really crystal clear good guidance for communication and how to love and to be intentional is Job. We find it in Job 1:5. He prayed over his children. That's what the Bible kind of gives us that picture. Even though they weren't in his house, he was like, they might have sinned. Lord, let me be the intercessor. Let me step in, try to do the best I can.
No, it's good. So on the flip side of that, the moment, and I don't know why this has just now clicked in my head after all these years, it's not the Three Stooges moment where Mo slaps Larry and Curly and goes, "That's for what you did," and he hits him again, and goes, "That's for the things you did when I was gone that I didn't know about." Yeah. It's not. He covers them in prayer.
Yeah.
And if you're not praying for your kids, if you're not praying for their future spouses,
man,
the friends that surround them with godly friends, remove those who aren't, then you're missing.
Man, you're missing a lot, Jason.
That's a purposeful conversation between you and God the Father about the people that you're good stewards. You have to be a good steward of, right?
I love it, Jason. And I can't remember. It was during the Super Bowl. I saw this powerful commercial, and it was probably from the group. They do an amazing job every year, but it ties into this. They do the Jesus commercials, and I'm sure everyone out here, guys, you know what I'm talking about. He's us or something like that. But anywho, they talk about the most powerful little thing called the huddle. And we do this in all walks of life, especially you guys in the military. You get together before you're about to go and do something, and you make sure everyone's on the same sheet of music. And bring the person in that might be the proverbial weaker link, and you make sure they're dialed in. You know what prayer does? When you pray with your children daily, you bring them into that conversation with the King, and you make sure that they are latched up with the source of everything that they will need in life. And you're demonstrating to them, this is where I get it. All the things you thought Dad did right, this is how we get to that point. We huddle up with God and get into some prayer.
No, that's absolutely right. I think that's important in the huddle. How do you do your huddle? There's great little family devotions out there. By the way, ours is still out there for free.
That's right.
Feel free to download it.
Anytime.
Yeah, free 99. It's there. So you're absolutely right. What do you do? What's your huddle? What's your purposeful conversation? Is your purposeful conversation when you sit down and eat dinner at the table? Do you realize it's a captive audience? You're sharing something together. And if you really look at it from a cognizant development perspective, which is, super weird, but look, you are tying a statement to the senses of eating and all the senses that say, hey, I'm going to improve memory, right? Because it really, memory is pretty complicated. You draw in all these other things, but it could be over, if you have a burnt meal, whatever. We don't have those at my house. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, my wife's a great cook. Not referencing her in any way, but if you do, that's a
nice disclaimer, by the way. But good,
absolutely, it's a safety disclaimer. Nope, it's great. She absolutely is wonderful. I really do, and tolerates me a lot. But you're right. It's those think about it. Jesus, the Last Supper. We talk about it. It was a purposeful conversation.
Yeah,
That's a great one. This is the bread. This is the wine or the grape juice or whatever it was, And I love that.
No, man. I think the other point, Jason, you started in the main episode, and I was like, ah, man, he's gonna. I was like, I don't. I'm gonna lose a whole point for Jonathan's leftovers, but it was a great point to reiterate. No matter, even if you would, it's still a great point to bring out to guys. The power of grace,
Oh,
and most importantly, the Father's role in restoration. You are the centerpiece for restoration in your home, whether you realize that or not, guys. And here's why: because God demonstrates that time and time again. The crucifixion came, the painful agony as God the Father watched his perfect son die on the cross for every person who's ever been born, would have been born, every single sin. Jesus took it on the chin for us. He watched that. But you know what he brought next? He brought the restoration, which was the resurrection, where all power, as the Bible tells us, all power in heaven and earth was given to his son, right? So that is your balance, right? And the prodigal son, as Jason hit on in the main episode, Luke 15 and 20, you see this. The father was already ready to receive the son, even though he didn't deserve it.
he was way off.
There you go.
He was way off. His dad runs to him. So, all right. So I love our conversations because I'm, so many things connect in my head, all the time. So I'm scribbling. We focus on the crucifixion. We focus on the pain as a parent, as a man, right?
Oh, yeah.
You think about it. So many people get caught up on the display of power means somebody has to receive it in a bad way, right?
Yes.
They beat that person down or, whatever, right? We focus on that. And even in Christianity, we focus very heavily on the crucifixion, but Jesus focused on the resurrection. It's all about the resurrection.
Yeah.
Even when he talks about the crucifixion to his disciples, and Peter, whom I love,
I love
I'm
Peter.
going to meet that guy, and he's way smarter. And I thank you for helping me relate to you so much.
Yeah.
And he's like, nope, can't go to the crucifixion. But Jesus goes, but that's how I'm going to get to the restoration.
Yeah.
Right. All those purposeful conversations move you to that restoration.
Yes.
That's what it's for.
Yes.
Hey man, that wooden spoon, that correction, whatever, it's to get to the restoration. It's not just we mistake power as being, well, I just beat that down and that's it. No.
Do what I say, because I'm
do what I
in
say.
charge.
And
Yeah.
my
And
kids
it's like,
obey me
okay,
because they're afraid of me and this, that, and the other. No, I don't. I obey God because I love Him and I want to have a close relationship with Him. Right.
yes.
So
I love it, Jason. And that's the thing, you have to teach your children that mistakes don't define them.
yeah.
How often were we just left in limbo? And again, it doesn't matter who it was, it wasn't necessarily intentional. But if you never go to make that closing gap between discipline and restoration, you leave someone feeling, and if it happened in a military sense, we've all stood there or we watched someone just get it like tore out the frame.
Oh yeah.
And it's a different world. I get it. We're not necessarily trying to build back some restoration. I'm trying to get you where you don't destroy your teammates or other government property, right? But God does do that for us. God offers grace. And as fathers and as husbands, as men, we are to model who? Jesus.
Yeah.
And Jesus always never defines us as our mistakes. He elevates, he builds, and it goes something we say in the main episode. I go back and listen to. Good correction, good communication. It doesn't just tear down, it builds up.
Yeah.
You can't just leave someone at 0. You got to get them back to 100.
We tell people all the time, because you are more than the summation of your mistakes.
Yeah.
You are, right? So when we sit down and talk to our children or to those that love us, we have a super powerful voice. Is their life only about the crucifixion, only about the problem? Because they're like, oh my gosh, I've made a mistake. Will you always see me as this mistake? And the truth is no, I see you under this grace, the same as the Father sees us, thanks to Jesus Christ, right? We got to get them to that point.
Yes.
And I think that's super. Yeah, I love the grace comment.
Yeah.
So, you had another point?
No,
Or no? Okay.
that was it. That was a
Okay.
plate full of mashed potatoes that we just gave him.
Well, all right. Well, I got something I got to share with you,
Yeah,
and it
sure.
dawned on me last night. So I was listening to Where Does God Talk to Jesus? I was googling that up. Right, I'm reading and reading, and reading. And it comes to the Mount Transfiguration, and
Yeah,
I'm there, right, and I'm reading this, and this is in it's in Matthew chapter 17, and here they are, right? It's 3 a.m, and they're tired, and this is why I like Peter a lot. And he's tired. I'm tired at 3 a.m. I've been up
yeah,
all, I've done it. I've been up for multiple days, and you're just, you're tired. Well, then it happens, and Jesus is transfigured, and it says, it uses the term that his face shined like the sun, and his raiment was white as light. Well, at that point, it wakes them up. I believe wholeheartedly, and I could be wrong, but it wakes them up.
yeah,
And it's one of those like, oh, brother, where art thou? How's my hair? He wakes up and Peter
yeah,
goes, oh, this is great. Hey, glad we're here, which is typical. I would have done the same thing. I'm sure like, hey, I'm super glad we're here. I
yep,
wasn't sleeping,
yep.
but
I'm locked in. Good
I'm
to go.
locked in. We need to build a temple here, to Moses and to Elijah. And, but then the booming voice comes in of God the Father says, literally, this is my son in whom I'm proud, right? And I love that because that's a purposeful conversation. And
Yes.
what he does is he settles the water.
Yep.
He goes, stop talking. This is not what this is about. It's about my son.
Yep.
And when we have those chaotic moments that, I love when I just come home from work and there's chaos or whatever, it circles back to Jesus, and that's it. No matter how grand and glorious that moment was and that moment of panic and everything else, it's about Jesus, and Jesus is about restoration. So our purposeful conversations are about that. Now, don't get me wrong, just like everybody, sometimes we got to know we've done wrong so that grace can be applied.
Yeah.
But real strength comes from applying the grace and getting them back on the road.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
It's a nice
Uh,
tie-in.
It was a nice time, and I will say that was a nice cap to this second helping of the Jonathan Project called Jonathan's Leftovers. If you want Jason and me to come out, these are the kind of topics that we can highlight, dig into, dive into with you, your team at a men's event. Please reach out to us at thejonathanprojectpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thejonathanprojectpodcast@gmail.com. Jonathan's Leftovers, the main episodes, Jonathan's Project Podcast, all that comes out on Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, you name it, you're going to find us there. So please look us up, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Jason, wonderful conversation. Glad we could give this bonus content to the faithful followers that are praying and listening to us out there. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
See you, buddy.
All right.